When the Second World War began in 1939, Joseph Stalin was already the powerful and feared leader of the Soviet Union. He had transformed his country through brutal industrialization and purges, but nothing could prepare him for the storm that was coming. At first, Stalin tried to stay out of the fight. In August 1939, he shocked the world by signing a non-aggression pact with Adolf Hitler, the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. Behind closed doors, the two dictators even divided Eastern Europe into spheres of influence. This allowed Germany to invade Poland from the west, while the Red Army moved in from the east. For nearly 2 years, Stalin watched from the sidelines, believing he had bought the Soviet Union time to strengthen itself. But on June 22, 1941, everything changed. Hitler launched Operation Barbarossa, the largest invasion in history, sending over 3 million German soldiers across the Soviet border. Stalin was stunned. For days, he reportedly refused to believe the news, locking himself away in shock. The Red Army was unprepared, and German forces swept deep into Soviet territory, capturing millions of Soviet soldiers and advancing towards Moscow. Yet, in this darkest hour, Stalin slowly regained his grip. He rallied his people with fiery speeches, urging them to fight for the motherland. He allowed the Orthodox Church to reopen, appealed to patriotism, and introduced the phrase that would echo across the front lines: "Not one step back." The Soviet capital, Moscow, became the symbol of resistance. As German troops approached in late 1941, Stalin stayed in the city, refusing to flee. His presence inspired both soldiers and civilians. In December, the Red Army counterattacked, pushing the Germans back and proving that Hitler's blitzkrieg could be stopped. But the war was far from over. In 1942, the focus shifted to the south, to the city of Stalingrad, which bore Stalin's own name. Hitler was determined to capture it, while Stalin ordered his troops to defend it at all costs. The battle turned into one of the bloodiest in history. Entire streets and buildings became killing grounds. Soviet soldiers were told to fight to the last man. For months, the Germans pushed forward, but Stalin and his generals prepared a massive trap. In November 1942, the Red Army launched Operation Uranus, encircling the German Sixth Army. Cut off and starving, over 90,000 German soldiers eventually surrendered in February 1943. The victory at Stalingrad was a turning point, the beginning of the German retreat. From then on, Stalin grew more confident, directing vast offensives across the Eastern Front. In 1943, at Kursk, the largest tank battle in history, the Soviets crushed Hitler's last major offensive. Soviet industry, fueled by Stalin's ruthless drive, produced tanks, planes, and weapons in staggering numbers. By 1944, the Red Army was advancing westward, liberating Eastern Europe. Stalin attended meetings with Winston Churchill and Franklin Roosevelt, shaping the future of the post-war world. Behind his stern face, he was already planning to extend Soviet influence as far as possible. Finally, in May 1945, Soviet troops stormed Berlin, raising the red flag over the Reichstag. Hitler was dead, and Stalin emerged as one of the victors of the Second World War. For the Soviet people, it was a moment of pride, but also a moment drenched in sacrifice. Nearly 27 million Soviet citizens had died: soldiers, civilians, men, women, and children. Stalin had led his nation through the most destructive war in history. His iron will, brutal discipline, and refusal to surrender had helped turn the tide against Nazi Germany. Yet, his leadership came at an immense cost. Millions had perished not only from the war, but also from his own policies of fear and repression. When the guns finally fell silent, Stalin stood as one of the most powerful men on earth. The Soviet Union was now a global superpower, and the Cold War was just beginning. But for the people who had survived, the memory of sacrifice and the shadow of Stalin's rule would remain forever.